Good day everyone. For today I will discuss about the setting, synopsis, plot, the conflict, theme and moral lesson of the 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So to start our discussion, I will discuss first the setting. So the setting of this story happened in the Mocondo, an isolated town found by Jose Arcadio Buendia. For years, the community has a little touch with the outside world, save from Gypsy, who comes to sell things like ice and telescopes. So this place is isolated where people doesn't find this, or there's no other people that travel in this place. The gypsy has reached this place, but they only go there once every 5 years, just to bring new invention. And the time of this story, it happens in the early 80s until the middle of 90s. So this is the year spans. A lot of things happen about the Buendia family. Now let's talk about the synopsis of the story 100 Years of Solitude. To start this, Jose Arcadio Buendia fall in love to his cousin Ursula Eguarat, and someone told them that someone in their family will give birth with a baby with a big deal. This is the curse that gives a worry to Ursula Iguaran. That's why she's preventing in the story to have an incest relationship inside their family. So, on the beginning of the story, it is a flashback. It started to Jose Aureliano Buendia, the second son of Jose Arcadio Buendia. It is a flashback which is written here, like it started like this. Here, many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that the distant afternoon was when his father took him to discover ice. So that's the start of the story here in the novel. So, Jose Arcadio, while sleeping in the riverbank, he had a dream of the town Macondo. Macondo is a isolated place where Jose Arcadio and Ursula Iguaran and some other people build a hometown there. So that's the place where they live. And the first baby that born there is Jose Arcadio, which is the first son of Ursula Iguaran and Jose Arcadio Buendia, and their second son is Aureliano. So, while living in that town, a band of gypsy visit there, and periodically to show the residents inventions of them. So the gypsy are broughting some amazing things that are not familiar to some people, especially on isolated area. So some of the inventions of this are the magnifying glass, magnets, and flying carpet, which Jose Arcadio Buendia loves. So because of the things that the gypsy brought to them, the interest of Jose Arcadio Buendia about technology become an obsession. So Jose Arcadio Buendia, in the story, if you will read it, it's funny that he already, as a father, he forget to become a father to his family due to his obsession about technology. So he doesn't do his responsibility as a father to his sons, and even being a husband to Ursula. That also make Ursula Aguaran hate technology. That is why what do you call this, hindi sila nagkakasundo when the topic is all about technology and science, because uh, due to the obsession of Jose Arcadio Buendia, he is forgetting his responsibility as a father and a husband to Ursula Aguilar. Now, on back to the present, the gypsy come to show Arcadio Buendia a block of ice, which is fascinating because there's another new discovery that interests and provoke the obsession of Jose Arcadio Buendia. So his older son Jose Arcadio, when turns to be a teenager, he's been seduced by Pilar Ternera. She is a fortune teller. So he leaves town with the gypsy. So Pilar Ternera is with the gypsy. So he's not really living inside the Mokondo. So after that, Ursula gave birth to her daughter, which is Amaranta, and leaves home to try find her son, discovering a shortcut between Mokondo and civilization in the process. So one of his sons discovered a shortcut between Mokondo and to the civilization. So there's a shortcut way going to the Mokondo to the city. So Pilar Ternata gives birth to Jose Arcadio's son, and the Buendia family adopted an orphan named Rebecca, who suffered from continuous insomnia that caused memory loss, a condition which grew to infect the whole town. So this is the disease that been spread in the whole Mokondo, but with the help of Melquiades, when he arrived, he had something to cure amnesia. So that disease in Mokondo was cured. So next is, let's go to a representative of central government, which is Don Apolinar Moscote. So he is the father of Remedios, and Jose Arcadio challenged him, which is Don Apolinar Moscote, in leading the Mokondo. Because the Moscoste family becomes a enemy of Buendia family. But despite of it, Aureliana falls in love with the youngest Moscote daughter, which is Remedios. So she's only 9 years old back then when when Aureliano asked the hand of Remedios. Now, waiting for the betrothed to come of age, Aureliano too sleeps with Pilar Ternera. So there are, you can see in the story that there are a lot of cheating, relationships, across relationships that is not, what do you call that, valid or acceptable by, a normal person. You're courting someone, then you're sleeping to other people, which is Pilar Ternare, and he is the wife of the son the wife of the child of your sibling. There are a lot of kabit-kabit in this story. So, let's go to the story of the Buendia daughters, which is Amaranta and Rebecca. Rebecca is the orphan. And they both fall in love to Pietro Crispin, the Italian pianolo. So, Piet, Pietro Crispy was hard to teach Rebecca and Amaranta to learn how to dance. And Crispy chose Rebecca. So Crispy fall in love to Rebecca. And Amaranta did something to sabotage the marriage of Rebecca and Pietro Crispy, which happened on the same day when Remigio dies soon after the wedding. But take to the story in the story, what do you call this? Remedios died with a twin in his tummy, so she is pregnant that time. So when the eldest son, Jose Arcadio, ran away with the gypsy and returns, Rebecca cannot resist her attraction to her adopted brother, and they marry, which is Ursula Agorans is against due to the curse that been said to her before after marrying Jose Arcadio Vitia, that giving a baby with a victim. So due to madness, uh, he ordered the two to live in their house because they disobey her order. Arcadio in the charge of the town after the victory of Liberal Party, but he quickly. On the other hand, let's go to Aureliano, which is the second son of Jose Arcadio Buendia. He takes an interest in the liberal side of the war with the conservative leading a rebellion in town before leaving to fight elsewhere. From this point on, he is known as Colonel Aureliano Buendia. So, he has an interest on politics on that time. Arcadio is in charge of the town after the victory of Liberal Party, but he quickly becomes a dictator himself. Attracted to Pilar Ternera, he tries to sleep with her, but she knows he is her son, and so she pays Santa Sofia de la Pende to go in her place. So, to make things clear, Arcadio is a son of Jose Buendia and Pilar Ternate. So, his son fall in love to him, but Arcadio doesn't know that Pilar Ternare is her mother. So, because Pilar Ternare keeps doing things so that Arcadio will be, lumayo yung loob sa kanya. Arcadio put his attention to Santa Sofia de la Piedad. Arcadio marries her and she gives birth to their daughter Remedios the Beauty. When the Liberal lose the war, Arcadio is executed by firing squad. Pedro Crespi proposed to Amaranta, but that time, Amaranta doesn't love Crespi anymore. Due to that, he commits suicide and she burned her hands to punish herself, wearing a black bandage over the burn for the rest of her life. So she did something to harm herself due to this guilt about sabotaging her, about she become guilty about the death of the suicide of Crispy Crispy. So Colonel Arcadio Buendia and Colonel Hernaldo Marquez are sentenced to be executed by firing squad. Jose Arcadio prevent the execution at the last minute, and Colonel Buendia returned to war. Eventually, he is dressed by the official Liberal Party to his radical action, and he realizes he's fighting not for his ideals, but out of pride, so he leaves the army. Santa Sofia de la Pena gives birth to the twin son of her dead husband, naming them Jose Arcadio II and Aureliano II. Perhaps because of his recent brave action saving his brother, Jose Arcadio is murdered, and his widow Rebecca becomes a hermit. Colonel Hernando Marquez is left to govern the town and pursue romance with Amaranta, but she suborned him too. Finally, Jose Arcadio Ventilla, the portrait tied to three ties, and the sky rains yellow flowers. So the reason why they tie Jose Arcadio Ventilla in tears because he became insane due to the fear of the death of someone he killed before, and the ghost of it threatened him and turned him to a crazy man. So, due to that incident, Jose Arcadio became insane. That's why his family decided to tie him on the tree because they cannot do anything with the action and behavior and thinking of Jose Arcadio Buendia. Aureliano Jose, the son of Jose Arcadio and Pilar Tenera, grows up and finds himself attracted to his aunt Amaranta. So, Aureliano Jose doesn't know that Amaranta is his aunt. They sleep naked together but never consume their feelings. When she insists they stop sleeping together, he joined the army just before a peace treaty is signed. Aureliano Jose deserts the army to tell Amaranta he wants to be with her, but he is killed by the conservative soldiers as he returns home. Now, Colonel Aureliano Buendia, 17 sons, arrive to Macondo to meet him just before he returns to fight in an attempt to convince the Liberal to end the useless war once and for all. He agrees to sign a treaty that he believes will retrieve both himself and his party, and then attempts to kill himself. So, Colonel Aureliano attempts to kill his son. But he survived from suicide attempt. Colonel Buendia secluded himself in his workshop making fish out of gold. So, after surviving, he just dedicates himself on working shop making fish out of gold and leave the army. Both of the twin brothers sleep with the same woman, Petra Cotes. So here, I remember reading in the book that what's the name of this one? Aureliano II is married to Fernanda del Carpio, but the twin is both sleeping or have an relationship to Petra Cotes. So, in this story, we can see that there are a lot of cheating, of of feelings. And in this story, a lot of characters are committing adultery, which is a mortal sin. So, through Ariana's second relation with her proves to be long-lasting and has a magical affection on their lifestyle. So, in the story, this is also a humor and a funny part in the story, that every time Aureliano Segundo are sleeping with Petra Costes, their livestock is increasing, which is yung mga alaga nila is nagkakaroon ng nanganganak after they are doing something like what you call this, sleeping, doing sleeping to one another. Then Jose Arcadio succeeds in bringing the boat down to the river to Macondo, celebrating with a carnival. Remedios the Beauty is named Queen of the Carnival, but her position is challenged by another queen, Fernanda del Carpio, and a riot breaks out, killing many in the crowd. The story flashes back to reveal more about Fernanda del Carpio, upbringing in declining aristocratic home that give her unrealistic expectation for her life. After the carnival, Oriana Segundo marries her, though their temperaments are not well matched, and Oriana Segundo continues his affair with Petra Costes. Fernanda del Carpio and Oriana Segundo have two children, which is Mimi and Jose Arcadio II. The 17 Orleanos returned to celebrate the anniversary of armistice, receiving a permanent mark of ashes on their forehead for Ash Wednesday. Aureliano Triste and Aureliana Centeno decide to remain in Macondo to build the ice factory their grandfather had dreamed, and a railroad connecting Macondo to the outside world. The arrival of the train brings with in other modern technologies and foreign investors in banana plantation across the river. Remedios the Beauty remains ignorant of all its changing in the village and of the deadly effect her beauty has on men. One day she ascends into heaven, never to see again. Colonel Aureliano Buendia, dismayed by the changes to the city, threatening to start a war to return Wakanda to its original state. He plans to use his 17th son on his army, but assassinating kill all of them sons but one. So in this part, we are reaching to the massacre in the banana plantation. Ursula is going blind, but she is able to keep it a secret. But she is so well acquainted with people's habit. Jose Arcadio and me go away to school, allowing Oriana Segundo the freedom to move with Petra Costes. Then Colonel Aureliano Buendia dies. Fernanda del Carpio gives birth to her third child, Amaranta Ursula. The elder Amaranta saw her funeral shroud and dies on the day it is finished. Ursula grieved the last of her children, goes to bed and doesn't move for many years. So after all of her children die, She doesn't move and become lonely for years. So next, Mimi fall in love with a mechanic named Mauricio Babilonia, who is trailed constantly by yellow butterflies. Fernan, Fernanda del Carpio forbids Mimi for seeing Babilonia, but the sneak is each night to make love to her. Fernanda del Carpio hires a guard to kill Mauricio Babilonia. The next time he tries to visit, paralyzing him and send him away to the convent. Several months later, a nun arrives to the Buendia house to deliver the child of Mimi, give birth to Aureliano. Fernanda, ashamed of the illegitimate child, pretends he's an unrelated orphan and hides him. Jose Arcadio II organized the banana plantation workers to strike better conditions. At the meeting to resolve their issue, an army kills 3,000 workers, leaving only Jose Arcadio II alive. Their bodies loaded on the plane and dumped in the ocean, but no one in town believes the story. Rain begins to fall. Jose Arcadio II hides in Mercedes' old room and trying to decipher her manuscript. So the reign continues for nearly 5 years. Aureliano II, trapped in his house, began to care for Amaranta Ursula and a little Aureliano. All of the livestock died in the flood. Fernando seek treatment for a uterine disease by writing a letter to imaginary doctors. Aureliano II believes that he can find the fortune of gold coins Ursula has hidden somewhere in or around the house. Digging up the land in search, the rain ends, revealing a disseminated Macondo. So, when the rain happens, a lot of things, the Buendia family lost a lot of things, especially when it comes to food, livestock, plants, and uh, other source na pinagkakitaan nila, such as yung mga tanim nila, mga hayop nila, namatay due to 5 years continuous raining. Then, after the rain, Ursula finally emerged from bed and then dies at the age of 120. Closely followed by forgotten Rebecca, Aureliano II begins to rapidly lose weight and hurries to earn the money needed to send Amaranta Ursula to school in Brussels. Jose Arcadio II shows his grandnephew, Aureliano, the progress he has made in deciphering Belceti's manuscript so that he might take up with the project after him. Aureliano II and Jose Arcadio II, having completed the task, they aimed to die at the same moment at their bodies and bury each other's grave. So that's the end. The end of the life of the two twins, which is Jose Arcadio II and Aureliano II. Aureliano determines that Mercedes's prophecy are written in Sanskrit and that they will be dispersed when they are 100 years old. Santa Sofia de la Piedad, all about forgotten, walks away from the house without another word, and soon after, Fernanda del Carpio dies. Jose Arcadio returns and finds the gold Ursula had hidden under her bed, squandering it on parties with the youth of town, who eventually drown him and steal the gold. Amaranta Ursula returned from the Brussels with her husband Gaston on a leash. Aureliano pines after Amaranta Ursula, but he tries to distract himself by providing an old Catalan bookshelves and some young men who meet to talk about their studies at the shop. At the brothel, Aureliano meets the ancient healer Ternera, who gives him advice. Aureliano admits his love to Amaranta Ursula, and they become lovers. While Gaston is on a business trip, Amaranta Ursula tells him never to return. The, the cotton bookseller and Aureliano's friend are, leave, are leaving Wakanda. The Pandilla has been destroyed by a swarm red ants. So, after Amaranta Ursula gave birth, he is the character in the story who gave birth with a baby with a pigtail. Unfortunately, she died after giving birth, and the baby was eaten by the ants. So, they both died. Then Oriani's script forgot about the baby and finds it's being devoured by an ant. He finally disperses Melchizedek's prophecy, a history of Buendia family, as he read a hurricane destroyed Wakanda. So, the last person alive in the family tree is Aureliano, which is the son of Nini and Babylonia. So, he is the one who read the prophecy written by Melchizedek. So, according to that manuscript, all the things happened to the Buendia family is really a prophecy and being predicted to happen. So, all the happenings in the Buendia family has already written in the manuscript. So the story ends to Aureliano of Babylonia, and that's the end of the story, which he discovered that what's happening to his family is already predicted on the manuscript. So that's the story of 100 Years of Solitude. So let's go to the plot of it. So the exposition of the story, it starts to the flashback, which is many years later as he faced the firing squad. Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember the distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. So on the start of this novel, we can see that this story really happened years ago. Then for the rising action, but the event in the Macondo, foreign entrepreneur who construct a banana plantation in the Helmet and build their own pins in town directly next to Macondo adds to the confusion. So, the foreign entrepreneurs who builds banana plantation is the reason going to our climax, which is brother of Orlando II, Sarah Mundo has been working alone in silence to organize strike by the workers on the banana plantation in opposition to their abusive working condition. When martial law is imposed in Macondo, the workers retaliate by destroying the plantation. In response, the administration issued an invitation of more than 3,000 of employers to come together for a meeting with the provincial government and to settle their problems. But it is it is a lie. It is planned for the 300 workers to go in one place to kill them at the same time. So the climax in this story really happened in real life, which is the banana massacre in Colombia. It's really happened in the real story. You can read on you can search it on the internet, so you can read further about that incident. So the following action, the banana plantation shut down. Macondo returned to the former isolation and backwardness. The Buendia clans dies out. Aureliano II, who finally discovered how to read Melchizedek's prophecy, realizing that the rise and fall of Buendia has always been destined. So as I said, the story end of that, he discovered that the rise and the fall of the Vindhya family is really written in the prophecy. So the resolution, he understands that the Vindhya line has come to an end. He barricaded himself within the home and succeeded in despairing the Melquiades. So the resolution of the story is all the Vindhya family is died and been erased in the world, and the Macondo become an isolated town once again. So there are a lot of conflict in this story as I understand the book. So first is man versus man. We can all see that there are a lot of conflicts against man versus man. One of this is the climax, which is the banana workers versus the banana plantation. This is man versus man. And also the feelings of Amaranta and Rebecca. It's also man versus man. And also the, what do you call this? The shoot the death of the lover of Mimi. It's also a man versus man conflict. And man versus self, this is very vivid in the story. We can see that the real problem here in the story is really to their self, because they keep on being isolated and they not exploring things from the outside world to learn more about other things so that they can correct their mistakes and to be educated of what they should do and decide for different things so that they can decide for their own, not only just going with the flow, just following their hearts or their emotion of what they feel. That's what they will do. That's the big problem here in the story. And also, this is also a conflict in the story, the man versus nature, which is the hurricane happened in the story, which there are a lot of people, more of the there are a lot of problems being encountered by the Vindhya family due to the 5 continuous rain and hurricanes that gives a conflict to the Vindhya family. And also, this is only another pahabol lang. I think this is also a conflict. That's why Jose Arcadio Buendia ends up being tied on the tree. This man versus supernatural. Because he was having a problem against the ghost that he killed before. Because this man is not believing what he is telling, that he doesn't believe to Jose Arcadio Buendia. He keeps on bullying Jose Arcadio Buendia that his obsession about technology is not worth it. It's not a thing to give time and effort. And due to that, Jose Arcadio Buendia killed him. And the ghost of that man keeps bothering him until he becomes insane. And he ended up being tied on the tree by his family. Now, next is the theme of the story. So the theme of the story is time. We can see that time to time there are repetition of mistakes, and we can see that time is very vivid in this story. And it's a major theme in this story because it talks about events happening and about the Buendia family. And you can see on the title already that time is is the main theme of this story, because 100 years of solitude, from the word 100 years. So it's talking all about time. And also this is magic, you can see there's a lot of magical things happen in the story, especially that giving birth to a baby with a pigtail. It's so magical. And also a lot of, for me, I think it's magical when it comes to the invention of, I think in part of Jose Arcadio Buendia. It is magical every time he given a chance to use or see new invention being brought by the gypsy. And lastly, humor. This story, if you read this, you will you will find yourself laughing because there are a lot of happening or scene in this story that will make you laugh. So this story I think, has a three major themes, which is time, magic, and humor. So let's go on the moral lesson of this story. While searching in the internet, I find out that the moral lesson I learned from this story is different. I learned that another mistake will never resolve a mistake. So, committing another mistake will just make things more complicated. And this story tells us that man will never be an island, because there's no man that is an island, because we need to socialize. In this story, socialization is not being promoted. So this story is telling us that we should socialize to other people so that we can learn a lot of things. Because being isolated from what we have or what we used to do, will just give a bad feedback, a bad effect to us. So this story is also telling what are the things that what humanity can do. So in this story, you can see a lot of things that people can do, like adultery, killing, stealing. You see, the whole of the body. Is that being the sin of incest, lustiness, lies, all of that, believe it or not, human are really doing this. I can say that all the sins that the Buendia have done had already done by human beings long ago until the present. So I hope a lot of people can read this story so that they can have a realization for a change. So this story will give us a realization of what the things human can do, and how the events from the past important until the present, because we can learn from the past, which this story is telling us that what's happening in the past should be a lesson to us. We should not repeat what happened in the past, especially if it's not a good idea or has a good effect to everyone, to other people. So this story really gives a lot of lessons, especially on personal perspectives and personal lives, and how you should act in a society. So this story is very good. I can rate this book 100 out of 10. This book is perfect. Even it's too long and the characters are too, magkakalito-lito ka. Just you can look back on the family tree and look for the character, and you can still Hindi ka maliligaw sa storya. It's a good story. So, that's all for my part. I hope you learned something.